If you could join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I want to give notice that we did have an executive session immediately prior to this meeting to discuss legal and real estate issues. On the agenda, the first two presentations, unfortunately, are not going to be able to happen tonight because we have illness. So the deer culling and the summary slides. The second one, we have Joyce Platfoot here from the Radnor Memorial Library to give us an update.
Thank you. Good evening, Commissioner Myers and members of the board. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. My name is Joyce Platfoot. I'm the executive director of the library, and I thought it would be a good time to come and give you a little bit of an update about what we've been doing this summer and what our last year looked like. So let's start with some numbers. I'm not going to go through all of these, don't panic. I just want to highlight a few. Last year, we were open 3,588 hours. Simply translated, that means we were open every day of the year except 12. We welcomed almost 159,000 visitors, which was an increase of 9% over 2023. We checked out more than 330,000 items, both physical and digital items, and this was an increase of 5% over the previous year. We're typically the second highest circulating library in Delaware County, but last year, because Haverford was undergoing a renovation, we actually were the highest circulating library in the county. And then finally, at the bottom of the chart, you can see that we hosted more than 15,000 people at programs, and this was an increase of 6% in program attendance over 2023. So last year, we saw a lot of growth, which is really, really exciting. This really only paints the big picture, though, so I thought I'd tell you a little bit about some specific highlights. Last year, we doubled story times to meet demand so that more children could attend. In fact, one person reported to us that story times and children's programming helped her children learn English when they moved to the U.S. 3 years ago. We added a new collection called the Library of Things. It features non-traditional items like lawn games, craft tools, electronics, lots of things that can be borrowed for free with a library card. Most recently, we added Roku streaming sticks that include subscriptions to Netflix, Disney+, ESPN+, and a host of other streaming services. This year, with support from the Environmental Advisory Council, we started a new seed library. The Seed Lending Library provides seeds to community members to sow in their home gardens, and then a place for residents to bring back and share seeds from their gardens with other community members. The collection has seeds for vegetables, herbs, flowers, and native plants. We also launched a new online reservation system called Museum Key that allows residents to reserve one of the 37 museum passes that we have. Borrowers can also browse and reserve available passes from any of the 26 libraries in Delaware County. Many of the passes are now print and go, which allows borrowers to skip a trip to the library to pick up the physical pass and go straight to the museum using a digital pass on their phone as entry. And finally, summer reading just ended last week. This year's theme was Color Our World, and it celebrated all of the ways that books and libraries inspire the creative spirit. I'm sure that most of you probably participated in summer reading as children, or maybe you even brought your kids. It is the thing we are most known for, and that's because summer reading has been around since the 1890s. Our summer reading looks like most. We provide ways for kids to track their reading and incentivize them when they meet certain benchmarks, usually with a free book that they can take home and keep on their own bookshelf. Summer reading isn't just for the kids. One mom told us that she was inspired to join a book club after watching her kids log their books. During the summer, we also hold tons of programs, summer book clubs for every grade level, science programming, a kindergarten readiness program, which is probably one of my favorites, and just good old-fashioned fun that gets kids excited about stories and reading. And that's really important because reading over the summer prevents what we call summer reading loss. And we know that summer reading loss is cumulative. So children don't catch up in the fall because their peers have been bettering their skills all along. By the end of 6th grade, children who lose reading skills over the summer are 2 years behind their classmates. But we know that students who read recreationally outperform those who don't. So that's where summer reading is so important. During the summer at the library, kids can gravitate to whatever they're interested in, dinosaurs or cars or animals, and every time they interact with a story or a book, they're building their vocabulary, they're growing their syntax and their grammar, they're expanding their comprehension skills, all of these things that help them achieve academic success. It's kind of like putting vegetables in the smoothie. We make it fun, even though they're really learning. Every day, our staff are connecting residents with the resources, programs, services, and space that they need. And so I want to pause here just to take a minute to tell you about our incredible staff. We have 42 permanent staff members, 9 full-time and 33 part-time. We have a very well-trained staff. 13 of them have a master's degree in library and information science, and they are all required to earn continuing education credits each year in order to stay up to date on emerging trends in libraries and technology. We also have some staff who have been building relationships within this community for a really long time. Our longest serving staff member celebrated her 39th anniversary this year. 10 other staff members have been working for more than 15 years at the library, so they really know folks. In addition, 2 staff members have leadership roles in the Pennsylvania Library Association, and they are making contributions to libraries and our profession statewide. But it's not just the staff who are serving Radnor. So many members of the community are involved in the library's success too. More than 30 dedicated Friends of the Library volunteers and a 17-member board of trustees help raise funds for and lead the library. More than 40 teen volunteers join us each week to help out, and we host business and youth volunteer groups, adult volunteers, and work with interns from Villanova throughout the year. All of these individuals are real library lovers who give countless hours to help make the library such a great place. One resident recently said it best: the library is the heart of the community. I'll admit that's a pretty big claim, but if you just visit the library after story time, I think you might see what she means. The children's section is filled with kids playing and adults are catching up before heading home for naps. There's a lot of activity and interaction and relationship building happening at that time. But really, any time of day you visit, you'll notice people using the space in all sorts of ways. They're certainly browsing for books, but they're also gathering to knit or reading the newspaper, sometimes in a group and sharing comments about the stories, relaxing after school, studying, meeting with a tutor, getting help from a librarian, using the computers, and as more people are working remotely, they're working at the library. So as you can see, there's a lot going on at the library. We're always adding and developing new things, and I really invite you to swing by sometime and see it for yourself. And I hope to see you there. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions for this platform? No? It was lovely.
Thanks.
Yeah, we all love the library, so. See you there on Thursday.
Love you too.
Thank you so much. We appreciate your updates. When it's not just coming about money, so yeah. It's nice to hear the good things. So, all right, I'm going to open the meeting up to public participation. This is a general public participation. You would come up, state your name and your street. You get 5 minutes to speak about whatever you would like to. And if it's a topic that we might be going through later in the agenda, you're welcome to save it or speak now. It's up to you. Any takers? All right, seeing none. We're going to move on to the consent agenda. Is there any member of the Board of Commissioners or the public who would like to remove an item from the consent agenda? I have one. All right, seeing no others. I would like to remove item 2A and table it for some zoning issues that became apparent after the agenda came out. Could I have a motion? I made a motion. Could I have a second, please?
Madam President?
Yes.
I think you said 2A. Are we?
I said 2I, I thought.
2I? Okay, I just want to make
Did
sure
I-
we're talking about 2I.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
It's my accent. No, I meant to say 2I, but thank you. I probably misspoke. And I have a second, Commissioner Agnew. All in favor? Aye. All right. For any, and there were no other items that anyone wanted to remove, could I get a motion to approve the remainder of the consent agenda?
So moved.
So moved by Commissioner Mulrooney and a second. Second by Commissioner Riley. All in favor? Aye. All right, we'll move on to the business agenda. Oh, I got to find it. The first item is 3A, Resolution 2025-115, adopting a real estate tax exoneration policy in accordance with the local tax collection law. Our treasurer, Mr. Folek, would like to introduce this for us.
Yeah, this item was placed on the agenda at my urging. I believe it would be prudent to have a codified process for exonerations that exceed a certain size. Let me explain. Radnor Township collects property taxes on approximately 9,000 parcels of real estate. It is not unusual for us to receive a few requests from property owners for a minor exception. These requests are usually to allow the 2% discount rate to apply to a payment received a few days after March 31st, or to waive the 10% penalty on a bill that's paid within a few days after May 31st. The requests come to us with explanations as to why we should make an exception. Most of the requests we get are small, and most, but not all, are reasonable. I want to clarify that what we're talking about here does not include any requests from property owners contending that Delaware County has assessed their property incorrectly. We can't fix that, nor are we involved. That's a Delaware County item. So let me give you some examples of the types of requests we receive. A taxpayer is paid his tax bill every year in March to take advantage of the 2% discount that we offer if the bill is paid by March 31st. This year, on April 3rd, we get a phone call from Bryn Mawr Hospital. The taxpayer's in the hospital after suffering a heart attack. He tells us that although he pays the bill in the discount period every year, this year, due to his heart attack, he missed the deadline. Now, this is a call on April 3rd. His wife will bring a check in tomorrow to the window at the Township building. Will we accept the discount amount, which he had made the check out to for before he had the heart attack? Or must he pay the face amount? Here, just so you the discount is about $28, but we get a bunch of requests where the discount is less than $10, and the excuses are just as good. Another taxpayer had paid her taxes every year in March to take advantage of the discount. The taxpayer died this year before paying the property tax. Her children are trying to get their deceased mother's affairs in order. They call us in early June. The bill, which she would have paid by March 31st, is due by May 31st. But when they call us in early June, we're in the penalty phase. So a 10% penalty would normally apply. And the penalty is $140. They ask if we would waive the penalty. And promise they will pay the tax this week. Even in small cases or cases like this, any money that's waived is called an exoneration. It turns out that as treasurer, I have the authority to exonerate the collection of certain money owed to the township. I've been treasurer for almost 4 years. During that time, I received requests that we granted and requests that we turned down. We try to be reasonable about this and compassionate, but our goal is to collect the money the township is due. The amounts requested are generally small. We have guidelines that we use that are consistent to decide what small amounts to exonerate. My goal as treasurer is to collect all the money that's owed to Radnor while administering the tax collection in a fair and compassionate way. This is an easy job because the actual work is done by experienced and competent and compassionate staff in the finance department. They are the people who many of you have dealt with. They have been there a long time. They do the real work. This year, for the first time in my almost 4 years as treasurer, I was asked to exonerate an amount that was larger than usual and was neither the discount amount nor the penalty amount, as in the examples I described. It was the tax itself. A resident who was a veteran, injured in battle, recipient of medals of honor, of medals for valor, and now 100% disabled because of his war injuries, came to me. He is a hero. He is a longtime resident. He is elderly, 95 years old. We waive his current property taxes because of his 100% disability and financial situation. But somehow the waiver was missed in 2006. Now, 19 years later, the debt has been increased with interest and penalties. The old tax bill was going to cause his house to be sold at sheriff's sale. He asked if we could waive the old tax to save his house. I called John Rice, our solicitor. I found that I had the authority to make that decision. I also discovered that we didn't have a process in place for making the decision on a larger size exoneration such as this. And we had no process for making sure that any exceptions made that were not, $10 exception, that were, could be thousands of dollars, were reported to the Board of Commissioners. I'm a lawyer now, but in the past I've been an actuary, a CFO of a multi-billion-dollar company, and CEO of several companies. In my prior career, I learned that well-run operations have processes for making exceptions such as this. Should there be a process for exercising the authority that I evidently had? My past jobs caused me to ask, is our system vulnerable to abuse? Even though we had no indication that it had ever been abused, and when talking to the staff, I found that nothing had been exonerated of this size in 30 years that the staff had been there, I felt it was vulnerable. Currently, the treasurer has the authority to decide on exonerations without further approvals or justification, and we don't report to the Board of Commissioners. The treasurer's account is accountable only to the voters, and I think we need some additional control. I tried to think, how could this, could this possibly be abused? Because I wanted to be sure we put something in place to avoid it. And trying to dream up how this could be abused, I could see that a treasurer could waive the property taxes for his married daughter who bought a house in Radnor, for a parent, for a sibling. A treasurer could accept a bribe for an exoneration. Bribes are not always in cash. They could be hard to discover. A store owner could offer him a discount, or somebody could offer to make a large donation to his presidential library or whatever, such as we've seen with our president and using some of his authorities. You can think of more examples that would be unethical, including, as I say, this is not a current or past problem. It's only a potential problem. I think we don't want to let the potential get realized. But we don't want the cure to be worse than the disease. We don't want curing something that's never occurred, but could possibly occur if we had an unethical treasurer at some time. We don't want the minor waivers or the discount amount or small penalties to require paperwork and meetings. So I originally, trying to figure out what the criteria should be, I suggested $3,000 because I have to sign personally every check that the township writes for over $3,000 as a type of control. Our town manager, Bill, suggested that he thought 1,000 was a better number, and after thinking about it, I concur. So the process that we're proposing would have a process for any exoneration that hit $1,000. And the process would include an application that would be submitted requesting the exoneration, a committee that would consist of the treasurer, the town manager, and the head of finance, Bob Tate, would get together and make the decision that all decisions for exonerations that hit this threshold of 1,000, they would all be reported to the Board of Commissioners, so the commissioners would see it, and if they decided that it ever was a problem, they could take whatever additional action they thought was appropriate. And this would have no effect on the small, routine exceptions that are made currently. So that's what this is about.
Thank you. Appreciate your statement. Mr. Rice, you wanted to make an amendment to what we have in the packet?
Follow up with what Ken said, and I think this is a good idea. The local tax collection law permits this to be done. Most municipalities don't have a written policy, but I know a few that have them on the books. The resolution that was originally posted had a two-step procedure for anything over $1,000. The first step would be to go to the committee, and then from there it would come to the Board of Commissioners. In looking at the resolution, Ken gave me some additional revisions after the resolution, which was in your book, and you have the revised resolution in front of you. He handed it out tonight. So essentially, the changes in the revised resolution, and I can go through them, but it eliminates the automatic step to the Board of Commissioners to deal with anything over $1,000. As he said, he's had one in 4 years. So it's not something that would happen very often in any event. And also, the revised resolution makes clear in paragraph 5 that anything less than $1,000 are not affected, and the treasurer can continue to do what the treasurer can do in terms of the small amounts that have been exonerated in the past. So they're the two main differences between, you know, what was posted with the agenda. It's the same essential issue. It's a policy for exoneration and gives the treasurer the continued authority for small amounts. But anything that's substantial, like our veteran, our 95-year-old veteran would have to come to the, would also go through the committee and then be reported to the board.
All right, thank you so much, both of you. All right, well, I will make a motion to approve Resolution 2025-115 as amended by Mr. Rice. Could I have a second, please? Any commissioner discussion, questions? Any public participation on this issue? Seeing none, I'll call a vote on Resolution 2025-115. All in favor? Aye. Unanimous. The next item is item 3B, a discussion and consideration of preliminary land development plan for 800 Lancaster Avenue, Villanova University, the Connolly Center, expansion of the current student center. Mr. Cornelia?
Thank you. Nick Canelli representing the applicant. Since the last time that we met, we did meet with township representatives as well as Gilmore Associates, who is reviewing the plans. We've also received additional requests for more information, which we hope to have to the township this week. So as far as this is concerned, we would be requesting a continuance. I have presented an extension letter to both Mr. Norsini and Mr. Rice, extending it through September the 30th of this year. After we submit the additional information, I expect that we will meet again with the township and the township representatives to discuss that information and hopefully reach a resolution or some other aspect on this matter.
Thank you very much, and thanks everyone for coming. Mr. Rice, we don't need to vote since no, good.
No, there's no action. As long as I have the written extension of time to the end of September, so we're good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is item 3C. It's a caucus, preliminary/final minor land development approval for 3 Meadowcrest Road, the subdivision of 1 lot with an existing dwelling to be demolished into 2 lots, each with a proposed dwelling.
Thank you. Nick Cornelia representing the applicant on this matter. As is mentioned, this is a 2-lot subdivision on the intersection of Chew Lane and Meadowcrest Road. As you're probably aware, Radnor Chester Road is out here. It turns into Chew Lane and Meadowcrest here. Both Chew Lane and Meadowcrest are private roads. They're listed as private roads on the township right-of-way information, as well as all of township maps also indicate Chew Lane and Meadowcrest. There was one comment regarding the number of homes on Chew and Meadowcrest, and I did present information showing that they do comply with the number of lots, I should say, on each of these roads. I believe on Meadowcrest, we currently have 1, 2, 3 lots. This additional one would be 4th if we counted both on Chew and Meadowcrest. On Chew, we currently have 4. This lot, even again, counting it as a double, both on Chew and Meadowcrest, would be 5 lots. That was one of the issues. The other issue is basically there is, to be perfectly frank, opposition to this. This neighbor here, the Goldbergs, have come out and opposed the development, as well as the neighbor here. The Tolucci's have also come out in opposition to it. Since this was first came before the Planning Commission, this lot here has been revised. Initially, this lot provided an entrance here. The driveway was located in this area here, nearest the neighbor. It was since moved so that the driveway is on the other side. We have also offered to heavily buffer this area as well as this area. We believe that neither neighbor really wants the buffer here. We've also met township requests regarding additional cartway on Meadowcrest and Chew Lane, so that the total is now 20, we've added, the total is 23 feet cartway. It should be noted that the applicant, Jim Slattery, who's present, he owns this house across the street on Meadowcrest. He purchased this property, and actually his mom lived on this property until she passed. This resulted in the eventual 2-lot subdivision that we see here. The review letters are relatively clean. There are some comments regarding additional right-of-way, although do remember these are private streets. These are not public streets, but in the hope of trying to resolve that issue, Mr. Slattery has agreed to a 23-foot cartway on both Chew and Meadowcrest. There are a couple other issues, and a new waiver letter has been submitted, if I may. As I mentioned, one issue was the sidewalks and curbs. My further understanding is that the neighbors are not in favor of the sidewalks and curbs, and actually they expressed at the last Planning Commission meeting some opposition to widening the cartway as well. But again, we provided that because the township requested it. The other section regards, as I mentioned, curbs and sidewalks. The issue regarding all aspects of the property within 500 feet, which is a common waiver, and aerial has been provided to show that. And as I mentioned, the 5 lots on the street. This is a caucus. Certainly, we entertain any questions from the board regarding development itself.
Oh, thank you. All right. Could I have a motion for, I guess I don't need it for just a caucus. Never mind. Any commissioner comments, questions?
I do have a question. Just looking at sort of the cover letter and the notes about the Planning Commission, there were these 2 unable to determine the following about whether or not Chew and Meadowcrest are considered 1 or 2 streets. Were you able to?
I believe the Planning Commission stated that either a waiver or whether it was required or not. I have submitted a revised waiver letter that basically stated we don't think we need it because we have, there's less than 5 homes on each of these private streets. But if we do need it, we would request a waiver. But again, that does not seem to be the wording in the saldo. The wording in the saldo is clear that on each private street, and these are 2 separate private streets by all township records.
Not having watched the Planning Commission meeting, I apologize. What's the thinking that these are 1 street? It was just a kind of a question.
It was kind of it may have said, and I don't know if Mr. Rice spoke to Mr. Nelson about it or not, but.
Yeah, I did. I mean, I don't think that's an issue.
Okay.
I mean, there is another issue, though, because of the way the house is oriented, and I think it came up at the planning commission, but that lot is, because it's on a corner, it's classified as a corner lot. So when you measure your yards, the lot facing, the yard facing Chew has to be 35 feet, I believe. The part of the house facing Meadow Crest has to be 35 feet. And the rear yard has to be 35 feet. And we have a disagreement which one of those is the rear yard.
Correct.
So
That
where
was-
it- yeah, that was my
That's
next
the-
question. That's
yeah.
also been
The
And
flagged
that's the
here.
comment that was, the planning commission did not rule on that because it
So,
was a zoning
well,
issue.
I mean,
But
my
that's-
So where's
opinion-
the front door?
The front door is here.
So it doesn't
This
look
was
like-
not mentioned in any of the review letters. This came up.
Well, but it came
as
up.
another
So,
comment.
so that would make,
This,
The
the
backyard
rear.
too short.
We consider, if the, no, the front door is here, the rear yard would be here, which complies.
it does.
There was a comment that this is the front yard, and if this was the front or the front of the home,
Yeah.
it's where the rear of the home is oriented, is what the zoning code says. The zoning code says the rear yard shall be that yard where the rear of the home is oriented. And there was some discussion, is this the front, is this the front, and which one's the rear? Because if this were the front and this were the rear, then that would not comply with the setback. Now, our position is this is clearly the front, this is the rear, this is the rear yard of the property, and that complies with the setback requirement.
Nick, so the driveway, is there an entrance to the house on the,
There
Meadowcrest
is, I
side?
believe there's a sliding glass door in this area here that actually leads to a study. So it's not really the front. The front door is here, here's the sidewalk up to the front door. Go ahead, John Anderson, the engineer on the property.
I was told there were no plans, no studies here, kitchens there, nothing like that. So this does exist?
Yes, it was. Sorry, yes, it does. My name's John Anderson, civil engineer for the project. We did submit the floor plan as part of...
When did you submit it, the floor plan?
I know we presented it to the planning commission during this whole
So
discussion.
last week it existed? I'm not saying, I didn't talk to you, I'm not saying you, but it existed last week?
No,
Okay.
actually, no. The applicant has prepared, or had his architect prepare these drawings.
Yeah.
The footprint that is within the subdivision is the actual footprint, and it's been in the plan set since we've submitted, so...
I'm not talking about the footprint. I'm talking about, this isn't where the living room is, there is nothing like that, where a living room is behind the other room.
No, what I'm trying to say is that the applicant did expend some significant expense to have an architect design
Okay.
the house.
Yeah.
And so what this plan is the floor plan for the first floor. This is oriented very similarly to the site plan. As you can see, this is the garage here, and the front foyer and the main entrance is here, which is in this location, which faces Chew Lane.
Now, Commissioner Agnew, recall that the SALDO does not require architectural plans.
I'm not-
But this
that's
came
not-
up, yeah, this came up during the planning commission meeting.
That's not my point.
Right.
My point is, I was told that it didn't exist.
So
I'm not aware of that, yeah, I don't know.
So, but there's still an issue.
Well, isn't that really a,
Because the house is facing Meadowcrest. I mean, to say the front door is facing Chew behind the garage, right?
it's not, no. John, the front door's right here.
I know, it says entrance, I looked at the plans, but it's behind the garage, and the driveway's coming in off Meadowcrest, no matter what the floor plan says. The building's facing Meadowcrest, which would make the opposite back of the building the rear yard. And I think that's an issue. I think that's a zoning hearing board
well-
issue.
Can I ask a question real quick? To that point, so I live on a corner. My front door faces Barclayton and my driveway's on Lowry's. My backyard is oriented to the front of it being on Barclayton. Is this not the same scenario.
James, I'd have to see, I'd have to see your house on the lot
Yeah.
to understand whether it's the same, but
I'm just
this-
curious because now I'm curious which one is my backyard, you know?
Well, if it's a corner, if it's a corner lot, you have to have 2 front yards on each of the streets. And then what the code says is that the rear lot line is designated as the lot line towards which the rear of the principal building is oriented. So how is that principal building oriented? To what street? I think it's oriented to Meadowcrest, which would make the opposite yard the backyard, the rear yard, and would require 35 feet, not 15 feet, which is what you're saying.
And
If I
I'm
may
not
say
even
so.
sure that how would you even get to your version of a front door? Like, how would a person physically get to your front door? The way that you have? Yeah, so you're going in through the driveway. There's no walkable exit to a sidewalk or a road from your front door. You are wrapping around and coming out the driveway. So it's kind of a fake front door.
this is what the code specifically states regarding rear yard. The rear lot line, this is a corner lot. The rear, and it's under the yard requirements for corner lots. The rear lot line shall be designated as that lot line towards which the rear of the principal building is oriented.
Right, but what
It really
you've
doesn't say
done, I get
front
it,
or
I
thing.
can read it, but what you've done is created sort of a fake orientation. There is no walkable access or drivable access to that front door. You're creating a front door there so that you can have less space in what most people would see as the backyard because they're coming in off Meadowcrest and you're forcing them to walk around a garage to get to the front door. So there is no straight access to a front door the way that you've had this design, which to me is working around the language that Nick keeps reading to us.
But we could, as an argument, switch or rotate the garage itself, pull the driveway off Chew, and we'd have the same orientation. And you'd still have the same situation that we're presenting to you this evening.
So why have you oriented the driveway this way? What's the benefit that you're getting from having a driveway on Meadowcrest along Chew?
It presents itself from a driveway standpoint, from a vehicle, to come off Meadowcrest better than it does off Chew.
Can you speak into the mic a little closer? Thanks.
Terribly sorry.
So
For vehicular access, it's better to pull off Meadowcrest.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't want to put a driveway right out at that intersection. I mean, plus isn't there stormwater management in that green area?
It's underground, and we could design it, it's designed that it could have a driveway over top of it.
Yeah.
So I guess my question is the way it reads has nothing to do with where the front door is. So I'm not sure why we're agonizing over this front door. The way it reads is where the back of the house is oriented. And you've got a porch on the back, is there access stairs, something that's accessing, that you can access that backyard?
So as you would have in most residential buildings, you have out your back of your building, you have patios or decks and so forth. The way that the architect has designed this building, we have a nice covered patio at the rear of the building, which is at the rear of the yard. And then also off of that is part of the interior of the house is a dining room, which is located towards the rear, with access to this covered patio with stairs or slight steps down to the backyard.
Are
So
we,
the whole house is oriented from front to back and laid out that way.
can we, in the packet that we were given, at least I just also accessed, the front yard is on it's designated right here, the front yard is on.
We have
Meadowcrest.
2 front yards.
Excuse me, the front yard is on Meadowcrest. The rear yard, and so and in the previous drawing, what you have as a patio was a front door. It was a door. That really is because it was the front door. I live in a house just like this, and how this is situated.
I'm just telling you, this plan has not been revised since it was generated on May 12th, 2024
Well, I
for
don't
the
know what to tell you.
development of the subdivision.
I'm looking at this right here. It says front yard on Meadowcrest.
There's 2 front yards, Commissioner.
Yeah.
There's 2 front yards, one on Chew and one on Meadowbrook, or
Then you-
Meadowcrest. So that's
then
why
it
they're
makes it
listed
the front
both.
yard on Meadowcrest.
There are 2 front yards. There's one on Chew, and there's one on Meadowcrest.
Yeah, the
So that
question-
makes two backyards.
The
If you
the
have two front
question,
yards, you have
the
two
question
backyards.
is, how is the building oriented? I mean, and in my mind, because of the driveway location and the way the building's we don't have an elevation, I guess, of the actual building. It's oriented towards Meadowcrest, which then makes, the opposite yard, the rear yard. So, I mean, which means you would probably have to go to the zoning hearing board or reduce the size of the
I
house.
totally disagree, Mr. Rice.
What's that?
This is another ordinance that's 60 years old. It is certainly totally ambiguous, and what is it trying to get across is what the orientation of the rear yard. I just don't see how this would have to go to zoning, particularly in the fact this is a saldo, this is a land development, this is a subdivision. The architecturals have,
Has the zoning officer weighed in on this?
I'm not aware. This was mentioned at the planning commission meeting by the solicitor, by
Right.
Mr. Nelson.
Right, yeah, I spoke to him and Steve. So maybe whenever, is Kevin back anytime in the next week or two?
Next week.
Okay. But tonight, there's no decision tonight, it's a caucus. But
Yeah.
my
No, I
opinion is it's.
And the other
it's
issue,
zoning hearing
yeah.
board.
So I guess the issue is, so if you could move the drawings off the lot. So we are dealing with, so currently there's one house on this too, you're subdividing for 2 houses.
Correct.
So right now, you have existing houses, on top and on the side. You also have kind of an open map to create these 2 houses in whatever orientation works with topography, the roads, et cetera. I think that my concern is that existing neighbors are getting impacted more than the house that doesn't exist yet. So if you were to reorient so that the smaller yard is in between these 2 houses, so that you're not impacting houses that currently exist with neighbors who have currently been enjoying their property without having a house very close to them. So, you have an open opportunity to orient this house however you want or can based on the land. So impact those 2 houses closer to each other and less impact on existing houses with their yards and the neighbors who are currently living there. I think that's the issue that I am sort of feeling that we might want to solve for.
Okay, we'll look at it. And one thing you had mentioned, actually, in the code, with a corner lot, you have 2 front yards, 1 side and 1 rear. So it's not like
Thank
2
you.
rears, okay?
No, it's just not logical, but it's our code.
And that's what
but
the
I would
code
just,
says,
I would
yeah.
just encourage you to push them closer to each other, because they don't exist yet, and maintain more space for those neighbors who are currently there, have been used to this lot being one house. You're going to find that it's an easier sell to us and to the neighbors, I think, if you can think about it that way.
I understand.
Mr. Cornelia, I know what your engineer said. I recall from the last planning commission where you put the architecturals on there, but I don't recall them being given to us as part of the packet.
Yeah, I don't,
I mean,
have they, or? Okay, yeah, he said he has.
yeah, because
no, sorry.
we don't have them physically. We know you presented them.
We'll submit them.
Yeah, so I mean, if that would help us with our ability to review. So to Commissioner Agnew's question, it was not part of the packet.
Okay, yes.
Thank you. It was, however, mentioned at planning that was going to be the study that had the sliding door, because I knew that, so, having watched planning.
You're more attentive than I watched it too.
Yeah, yeah. All right. I do see, is there any other commissioner comments, questions? Seeing none. There's some public here that I think might like to speak. 5 minutes. I'll give you a 1 finger up when you have 1 minute left.
In that case, I'm going to talk pretty fast. My name is Andy Goldenberg. I live with my wife Kelly and our 3 kids at 11 Meadowcrest Road, the property abutting 3 Meadowcrest just to the east. I wouldn't say we're especially familiar with zoning formalities or land use and development planning processes. That said, we appreciate your important role and the opportunity to share
Yeah, can
our
you just
perspective.
go back a little bit from the mic, just that we're getting a little, yeah.
And you don't have to do it so fast either.
That doesn't count against my 5 minutes. We appreciate your important role and the opportunity to share our perspective on the proposal in question. Out of respect for everyone's time, I'm opting to read a prepared statement on behalf of my wife and our family in an effort to keep our position focused and as succinct as possible. It's not short. Of course, we welcome your feedback. Happy to elaborate. First, some background. We moved to Radnor from Lower Merion in September 2003 when we were expecting our first child. We bought the house from a family that had lived at 11 Meadowcrest for many decades, raising their kids and growing old there together. They were concerned about flippers buying their treasured home, updating, then selling for a quick profit. We assured them our intention was to follow in their footsteps, and a couple decades later, that's precisely how it has played out. We were attracted by the surprisingly quiet, spacious, hidden charm surrounded by a handful of neighbors who appreciated the same. It allowed us to feel like we were in the woods while remaining accessible to the town of Wayne, the schools, even downtown Philly where Kelly worked then and for many years after we arrived. Since we moved in, we've enjoyed becoming part of the Radnor community. All 3 of our kids have progressed through the Radnor school system, with our youngest starting his senior year in a couple weeks. We're both home, by the way, we're also driving to Syracuse tonight to drop our oldest off. We're both home-based professionals who spend most of the week in our second-floor Meadowcrest offices, mine facing west overlooking 3 Meadowcrest, just a short distance from the property line that dates back to roughly 1890. We volunteer at the schools and at the polls. All 3 kids work at a restaurant in town. They've played on school. You know what, I'm going to skip through this because we got to get to the point. We've had friendly, respectful relationships with our neighbors since day one. Because our kids never really lined up age-wise with those in the immediate area, our priorities and social lives haven't exactly matched up either. But the Tolucci and Hanson and Slattery kids babysat for our 3 when ours were little. And when Mr. Slattery's mother was our next-door neighbor in the house at 3 Meadowcrest, our young kids helped her in her garden, spent time with her outside in her yard, and even made get-well cards when she fell ill. So while the adults have mostly been more neighborly than close friends, there's a 20-plus year track record of respectful behavior, communication, and sharing to help ensure that we all live safely and enjoy the quiet, private, open, and pastoral setting, our little enclave just across from Radnor High School. Fast forward to the matter of today. We were first made aware of the plans to raise the existing home on 3 Meadowcrest and potentially build multiple houses on the property adjacent to ours maybe a year ago. They indicated that they wanted to be open and upfront about their intentions, get everyone on board so we'd all be pleased with the outcome. Early on, they were aiming to have us feel good about the aesthetics of the house or houses, but with no context about size or position or other implications on our neighborhood. As the Planning Commission proceedings started, we began to see the proximity of a second house to our property line and home. This raised major red flags. Our home's non-conforming origins long predate the township's ordinances and current setback requirements for new construction. While the western side of our house may be abnormally close to the property line we share, there's obviously nothing we can do about that. As I've said to them on multiple occasions, if I could change it, I would. I think Commissioner Mulroney made that point earlier. We appreciate that. Given the nature of this area, private road, properties and edifices dating back to a pre-ordinance era, the P&L Railway Gully framing properties to the south, which is this here, eminent domain impacting our next-door neighbor to the east, which is Dr. Hanson's property, which is over here, et cetera. It's fair to say there are a fair number of unconventional considerations with this proposal. However, not once has there been a group discussion with neighbors about how the development of 3 Meadowcrest could work. In fact, despite multiple members of the Planning Commission voicing their encouragement on 6/2 in this room for a community workshop about the proposed plan to discuss details and options and explore common ground that might result in a win-win plan, no such dialogue has been attempted with the people who stand to be significantly impacted by the proposed plan.
You've got a minute.
All that said, we understand, it's not going to happen in 5 minutes. All that said, we understand their wishes to maximize their investment and financial gains on the second property they own in our area. We get it. Yet we also recognize there are a number of ways they may monetize the asset should they be granted approval to subdivide. And there are surely other interested parties eager to capitalize on the soaring property values and desirability of the Radnor area. There's evidence of this type of suspect overdevelopment all over, and it's only increasing. They see green, not the kind of green our preservation people so passionately aim to protect. We just so happen to notice what appeared to be a Rockwell custom logo, and it's It's right up there as well.
Just, I'll give you this time back, but if you want to have your wife speak or take her 5 minutes, that's a possibility.
We appreciate that. Thank you very much. Am I reading too fast? Am I going too, you guys getting the drift? All right. So, he's next. I'll cut into your time. We noticed a Rockwell logo on some of the plans their team had under the projector of the last planning commission. We couldn't help but wonder whether Rockwell, which has numerous similar subdivision developments throughout Radnor and surrounding areas, already has an agreement in principle with the current 3 Meadowcrest owners, contingent upon the approved subdivision. Surely that'd be a more under-the-radar and less risky way for a business to pursue approval for subdivision, spearheaded by an existing resident rather than a visible real estate development and builder. Speculation? Sure, but hardly far-fetched. And if this proceeds, what's to keep them, Slattery's and Rockwell or other developers, from doing the same thing again? Directly across from 3 Meadowcrest, where the Slatterys currently live, further magnifying all of these negative consequences. It worries us, and frankly, it should worry all of Radnor. So, specifically in this case, we believe strongly that there are several compelling reasons why the Board of Commissioners should deny this proposed subdivision plan. In short, this type of venture may qualify as appropriate development and land use in many places throughout Radnor, but it doesn't work here. First, the issue of decoupling Chew and Meadowcrest. Chew Meadowcrest is really one road. As pointed out by the Township solicitor Peter Nelson at the June 6th Planning Commission meeting, Chew and Meadowcrest are not separate streets. They form a single, narrow, private road with limited access, a single, arguably risky entry and exit point onto Radnor-Chester Road. Right here. At the bottom of the hill, only yards from the traffic light at Lancaster Ave. Adding another lot increases pressure on this already constrained network. Excuse me one second. As Mr. Nelson explained, it would also set a dangerous precedent for more lot splits along this private road network. Considering the arbitrary naming scheme as a way to increase zoning and lot capacity would only allow any property owner on any private street to create and name additional roads so they could subdivide and overdevelop their land for profit. Mr. Tolucci even joked about Tolucci land, only it's not funny and it's a very slippery slope. At our request, Ward 3 Representative Ms. Agnew met us this past week to walk the road and see the area up close. We'd welcome all commissioners and encourage you to visit the neighborhood at your convenience prior to making any decisions about the proposal. Come and see firsthand how our community is laid out and how their design seeks to use multiple waivers and supposed ambiguities to take advantage of this dangerous loophole. Number two, safety. So that was number one, is the decoupling of this so-called multiple streets. Number two, safety concerns. The road is too narrow for safe vehicle passing. It will still be too narrow even with the proposed widening, which I believe would require a waiver as it would not meet Radnor's road width requirements. And the single access point mentioned above that connects to Radnor-Chester, an area that is notoriously busy and dangerous, with serious auto accidents that have impacted at least 2 residents of our small neighborhood in recent years, among others. Only getting worse with added traffic. Further, for the past several years, the house at 3 Meadowcrest has been vacant, so allowing 2 new homes to be built would, in practicality, not only not really increase vehicular traffic by net +1, but actually net +2, which is very alarming. So just to clarify that, the house that's currently here has been vacant for a number of years. So if we put 2 new on there, it's really, it's quite a bit more traffic. It's not +1 house. Emergency vehicles already have difficulty. Adding more homes makes response and evacuation riskier, and even everyday traffic within and entering, leaving the neighborhood could become hazardous. This proposal fails to meet Radnor's subdivision street standards without waivers, and waivers should not be granted when they jeopardize public safety. Again, we invite all of you to see the area and properties in person to understand why we share the opinion of some of the planning commissioner members that this is a poorly conceived plan. Number 3, neighborhood character.
You have 1 minute.
How am I doing time?
1
As
minute.
shared earlier, the area is defined by larger lots with open space. Splitting this lot sets a precedent for more subdivisions, changing the community's character. It also perpetuates a dangerous course around Radnor, inviting more overdevelopment for profit while irreparably infringing upon the beauty and openness that are hallmarks of our area. I'm going to skip this part, although this is important. When we look out our windows, of which the majority are on that back of that house based on our carriage house, all of this would be replaced by the siding of a maximum height structure built to the maximum east inch of space on their lot, positioned not only egregiously close to where our home has stood since the 19th century, but also further up the road, so more of the footprint lines up with ours. I'm not sure it could be designed any more disruptively if that was the assignment. One more interesting note on this point. Less than 2 years ago, a similar project off of Radnor Chester Road, mere yards from our neighborhood is being proposed. Neighbors in our area, as well as a broader radius around us, opposed that subdivision plan and presented arguments similar in substance to these. Among other, well, I'm going to skip the language in the letter.
You're out of time.
I will say, and this letter I'm referencing from a couple years ago is available. We can email all this to you
Mr.
guys.
Goldenberg,
Yes.
the president of the board told you you're out of time.
I'm sorry?
She told you you're out of time.
Yes.
The president of the board told you you're out of time.
You
You're
have to
done.
wrap it up, please.
If you're done yours, you want to read the rest of mine?
Can I give him 2 minutes of my time?
He's had plenty of time. You can, you could read whatever he has there or come up yourself for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I think what you have to say is important. Thank you very much for your time. Sorry I went over.
I won't need 5 minutes. My name is John Tolucci. I live at 113 Shoe Lane. My property borders the entire length across here. The reason I didn't like these trees is because they're cheap looking, and when you line them up, it's just going to look like a cheap development, and we don't live in a cheap development. We live in a very nice neighborhood that's been around since, Andy indicated, since the 1880s. So I'll leave it at that. I am writing to oppose this proposed subdivision of 3 Meadowcrest Road, which is part of my neighborhood. We believe this project violates Radnor Township subdivision and land development ordinance, specifically 255-27, which limits a private street to serving no more than 5 lots. I did a little research on this, not only in Radnor Township, but just other townships around the country. And private roads basically are designated, especially if they have one egress and one ingress. And it doesn't matter the naming rights or the branches that come off of it. If it has one exit and one entrance, it's considered one road. And I found that very telling. Radnor's code doesn't quite go that far. Perhaps you can address that in the land comprehensive plan that you're working on right now. So the proposed plan already exceeds that threshold and should not move forward. But the issue is bigger than this technical violation. If subdivisions like this are allowed, they set a precedent that invites widespread lot splitting and overdevelopment. Our township has limited resources and cannot support the strain that would come from an unchecked increase in lots, homes, and impervious coverage. We have a problem with that already. And despite the common argument, this type of development does not create affordable housing. What actually happens is the opposite. Builders maximize the footprint of each lot and construct large, expensive homes. The 2 homes proposed for this subdivision would be built to the maximum allowable impermeable surface. With land as scarce as it is in Radnor, this practice drives up sales, reduces open space, and erodes neighborhood character, while pricing out the very affordability it claims to serve. Radnor has already addressed the nearly identical problem before. Years ago, the township eliminated flag lots. You all recall, I'm sure. The property where property owners carved interior lots accessed by long driveways. That practice created planning and character issues, and Radnor wisely ended it. What is being proposed here is simply a version of the same mistake, my opinion. I also speak from experience. Several years ago, I participated in a land deal in this very same neighborhood. A developer purchased a portion of my property to join with another parcel, and together we sought subdivision approval. After more than 2.5 years of working through the zoning and development process and meeting the technical requirements for the project, the township basically said they were never going to approve the plan. The reason was not missing documents or design flaw. The township decision was based on preserving the area as a green space, and because it serves as a gateway into Radnor. On the other side of my property is Lancaster Avenue. Okay. Ultimately, the township purchased both my interest and the developers to ensure the land remained open. That experience demonstrated clearly that Radnor takes its long-term planning seriously and is willing to stop subdivisions when they conflict with community values. This current proposal also directly harms my neighbors, the Goldbergs, as Andy's indicated. You know, their house was built 1880. 1880. It predates zoning setback requirements, and because of that, the proposed subdivision would allow a new house to be built uncomfortably close to their rear yard, something no homeowner should be burdened with simply because they purchased a historic property that does not conform to today's code. Their opposition underscores that these decisions carry very real personal consequences for long-standing residents. For all these reasons, I urge the board to reject this proposed subdivision. It is not only inconsistent with township regulations, but with Radnor's established planning philosophy and history of protecting community character, open space, and livability. Upholding the 5-lot private street limit is the right decision for my neighbors, for our township, and the generations that will come here after us. I invite you to come walk and see for yourself what we are fighting for. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you. Almost exactly 5 minutes, by the way.
I'm pretty good.
Know that for you as public participants, this is a caucus? Is this for the board. Wonderful, thank you.
It's an exhibit. It's from all the neighbors signed opposing the development.
Okay, we don't do exhibits, but zoning does, if you get there. You will have several more opportunities to speak to the board as these things come up again for, this is just a caucus. So I don't want you to feel like we really rushed you out of here, sorry. But.
And I'm just going to be away the first meeting of September, so if we could pass it till one of the later meetings after that. And you have an extension till September 30th on this. The 20, I gave an
What kind of
extension the
extension do
30th.
we have?
Right now to September 30th.
Okay,
Yeah, the meeting is very late in September, I think.
Yes, no,
but-
29th.
Yeah,
29th.
that's very late.
29th, you'll be here for a lot of different things. that
Yes,
Nick
yeah,
had.
okay.
Okay.
So I will not be. It is my ward. If you could put it a little bit later, that would be,
Okay, I'll
I
talk
would
to
like
Nicole.
that.
Sure.
Okay.
So we'll
She
need
wouldn't-
another extension.
Commissioner Agnew would not be here on the 29th, so she requested perhaps a further extension. I'll talk to my client regarding that.
Okay, did you have a question? I'm sorry.
Excuse me, I just want to make one clarification. Our plan does reference a word named Rockwell. It's not Rockwell Custom. It's your tree protection detail, and it's the manufacturer on your tree protection detail.
Thanks
Our
for the
plans don't
clarification. Great.
reference Rockwell Custom.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. We're going to move on to item 3D, Resolution 2025-109, Final Land Development Approval for 1300 Eagle Road. This is Eastern University, for a gym, learning center, Centennial Hall, and a parking lot renovation. Mr. Cornelia, you're busy tonight.
You've seen this one several times. We reviewed the resolution. We are in total conformity with it, and we'll be in compliance with all the comments from the consultants as well as the resolution itself.
All right. Could I have a motion to approve Resolution 2025-109? So moved by Commissioner Riley, and a second. Second by Commissioner Larkin. Any commissioner discussion, comments, questions? We have seen it several times. Seeing none. Any public participation? Again, seeing none. I'm going to call the vote. All in favor of Resolution 2025-109, raise your hand. Aye. So that's unanimous with Commissioner Agnew off the podium.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item is 3E, Ordinance 2025-07. This is an adoption, special purpose parking regarding the removal of a handicapped parking spot on Brook Street. We've seen this before. Could I have a motion, please? So moved by Commissioner Riley, second. Second by Commissioner Mulrooney. Chief, do you have anything to add?
No, ma'am, nothing to add.
Okay, thank you. Is there any commissioner comments, questions, discussion? Seeing none, any public participation? All right, I'm going to call a vote on ordinance 2025-07. All in favor? Aye. Unanimous. Item 3F, Resolution 2025-117, approving the purchase of 3 replacement Harley-Davidson motorcycles for use by the Radnor Township Police Department Highway Patrol Unit in the amount of $89,470.44. It's the net of a trade-in value of 3 retiring motorcycles that was originally planned for the 2026 capital program. Could I have a motion, please? So moved by Commissioner Agnew. Thank you. And a second? Second by Commissioner Riley. Chief Flanagan?
Thank you, Commissioner. I have Highway Patrol Officer Ken Pyrie and myself bringing it before the board. Unfortunately, they're retooling the line, which is the Road King motorcycle, which we ride, and we received very short notice that we potentially would not be able to receive replacements. As you stated earlier, it was listed in the 2026 budget conceptually. We would not be able to potentially receive replacement vehicles through 2029. So we approached the township manager, and we're hoping to get this order in before they close. As we understand it, Officer Pyrie interviewed the manufacturer lead for that line, which is the police motorcycle, and they close roughly in September. We're hoping to get this in with your approval and support. September 1 is the alleged deadline.
Thank you. Okay, but they're willing to take the exchange on the old bikes? Okay,
Correct.
interesting. All right, Commissioner discussion. Questions, comments? Commissioner Agnew?
Commissioner Rooney's our expert motorcycle person. Is this good with you?
Looks good to me.
Okay.
Can you throw in an 883 for me, and I'll ride Harleys with you?
Any other commissioner comments? No? Any public participation? All right, sounds like we're up against the wire on this one. I'm going to call a vote on Resolution 2025-117. All in favor? Aye. It's unanimous. Enjoy. All right, item 3G is Resolution 2025-107, authorization to proceed with the preparation of bid documents for stormwater projects pending the issuance of an $8 million general obligation bond associated with the funding of those projects and an anticipated increase in the stormwater fee. Mr. Norsini, is he here, or Mr. Tate?
I'll fill in for Mr. Norsini until he gets back.
Just a little more background information so we can have,
Sure. If you recall, back in June, we presented to the board a series of projects. There were 8 projects in particular, and just by coincidence, it's the estimated cost of construction for these 8 projects was $8 million. In order to get the ball rolling, the resolution is just simply to move ahead and begin the preparation of bid documents. It can be a very lengthy process and very involved. Mr. Norsini can speak exactly to the projects, but there are 6 projects roughly estimated at about $2.2 million. Those would be the initial ones where bid docs would be prepared and kicked off. And Mr. Norsini can probably put a little finer point on exactly what I'm saying at this moment.
We'll cue Mr. Norsini then. He told us you had 8 projects, roughly $8 million.
My apologies, Commissioners, and the manager, and to Mr. Tate. We do, and this was the slideshow that was presented some time ago. And these projects, pull this up, are, as you know, like any township, like any government, like PennDOT, there's a lot. We all have aging infrastructures, and that's where we sit. We're no different than anybody else. And the 8 projects were a spring mill culvert replacement, This is long overdue. We have plates sitting on there. It needs to get done. Walnut Avenue Culvert Project, which is actually very complicated because 100 years ago, they would just run a sewer line right through it, and we have to figure out how to reroute that. But this culvert is in very bad shape. It is in poor shape. It is an old stone arch culvert. Earl's Lane, we did a Band-Aid to that culvert about 10 years ago after one of those huge hurricane remnants. But we bought time, but now the time is up on that. The Highview Outfall, that is a long-standing project that has a severely eroded outfall that we truly need to address. Morris Road and Clover Lane and Morris Road, these are two projects. They're very close to each other. So houses that on South Devon Avenue that butt up to Morris Road in a very big storm actually have little geysers that come up out of their backyard due to the separations and holes in the pipe. I think that speaks enough for itself. Right up the street, we have storm sewer that runs down under the sidewalk and under driveway aprons that we've had televised and is severely deteriorated, and we would like to bundle both those projects. 607 South Valley Forge Road, it's another similar project. The township has inlets on our side, not the east town, our side of Valley Forge Road. And this pipe, they outfall to a pipe that goes through this gentleman's property for considerable, probably about 300 feet. That pipe is literally falling apart, and our good Public Works Department, I have had to ask them to go in a couple times and just make it safe, fill in the hole. Fenimore Woods Park Storm Sewer Replacement, not part of any park project. This is just storm sewer, but it's not part of any park project. There was a very large diameter pipe that runs from Eagle through the park to the bridge. It's severely deteriorated. If you recall back in the PowerPoint, I said, though, this cannot be done by itself because there is a playground right there, which does not meet any of the standard requirements of today for slope. So if we were going to do this project, we really need to do the playground at the same time so we know where to put this and at what elevation. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. We need to look at the playground and fund the playground so we know where that goes. Ithan Valley Park, the upstream bridge. So I don't know if you remember, about 2 years ago, we worked on the exit, if you will, the downstream bridge. The culvert was severely deteriorated. It came out beautifully. We repointed the entire bridge, resurfaced it. But more importantly, we took care of, it was severely eroded under the foundations. We grouted all that. We did patchwork. And now upstream, the entrance is in the same shape. This needs to be done also. So these are the projects we're requesting. And I do want to make sure everybody understands we've done some really big stormwater management projects in the past couple of years, right? South Wayne. Does it look like a stormwater management project? It looks like a very nice parking lot with solar lights and plants. But since we've installed that, I can tell you South Wayne would have flooded many, many times, and it hasn't because of that system. So that helps that area. We have the South Devon Area Flood Reduction Project, which has worked very well, right? And I always say this, and Mr. White's going to look at, all these systems are finite. They can only take a certain amount of water. So someday that could be reached, but they are doing their job. The township spent a lot of money on them, but we are getting results. So while this borrowing is focused on infrastructure repairs, a future borrowing could be used to address other flood reduction projects. So we have the Midland Area Study that was done that looked at several projects that could be done. So in that same watershed, we had the South Wayne Flood Reduction Project, which is advantageous to this area. The Midland Area Study went downstream and looked at other things that could be done. So that could be a future borrowing that we do. And we've done several incremental BMPs in the North Wayne area. We did have a project several years ago. It was an intrusive project to help address the flooding of North Wayne. That did not pass muster with the residents. I understand that. But that doesn't mean we're not looking still to do those projects. So while the borrowing is for infrastructure, right? For bridges, pipes, culverts. We have done stormwater management, flood reduction projects. They've been successful to date, and that does not preclude us from doing a future borrowing to continue those projects.
Thank you.
Madam President, if I could just, two quick things to add on. As part of our discussions internally before it made it to the presentation from a couple months ago and then tonight, two important things to keep in mind. The engineer Norsini pointed out, this is an $8 million borrowing for a very specific number of projects that are on an endless list. Could we borrow significantly more money and add more projects to it, including some of the stormwater management projects that we currently have discussed in other plans and studies that we've done in the past? Sure, but we run into the ability to do the projects. So this size borrowing is good for our staff and our ability to address the projects in the 3-year window that we have to spend the bond proceeds. And under this current makeup between staff and funding, this size amount with these number of projects is right for the staff to be able to address them. And at the same time, as it relates to the fee itself, it allows us to smooth any kind of future fee increases to pay for these projects and future ones, instead of requiring a bigger increase more upfront for projects that we may not get to for 5-7 years down the road just because of staff resources and our ability to do projects. So a couple questions have come up since we started talking about this, is why the incremental approach. That's primarily why we're where we're at, is we can accomplish this list of projects in a relatively short amount of time, which we've proven with the last borrowing and the projects that were done in that window. And again, it smooths the rate. So I wanted to add that context as well.
No, thank you. That's helpful, because I did have that in my head. Why don't we just...
And to Mr. White's point, and actually, as time goes on, priorities do change in these projects, right? We have this list. A situation could worsen that brings one project from, number 5 to number 3 or number 2 or number 1. And I will add, though, it is right size for us, but the wheelbarrow will be full for the department as we do these. There's no doubt.
Well, I know many of these projects have been on the list for a long time, so it'll be good to see at least 8 of them get done. All right. I believe I did not get a motion, but I would ask now for a motion for Resolution 2025-107.
So moved.
So moved by Commissioner Mulrooney, and a second. Second by Commissioner Larkin. Any commissioner questions, comments?
Mr. Norsini, when you say the wheelbarrow will be full,
So it's.
let me
Go ahead.
ask. Are you saying that you may not have sufficient staff?
No, we will.
Which would be fine, I think.
We
maybe
can
need
do
more
what we
staff.
have with staff. I just when it is, we will be working at full capacity, and that's what we do, right? So whether it be machines that you operate or your staff, you always want to hum at 100%, and that's what we'll be doing, and that's honestly what we thrive on, right? We enjoy that, and that's how we work, and we use consultants where we have to. Some of these, and I should have mentioned this, so a few of these projects were designed in-house by Ben Wagner, our engineering manager. That would be the 2 South Devon projects, as well as the Fenimore Woods storm sewer. So we use a mix of what we can do internally, and we use a mix of outsourcing. So sometimes, don't get me wrong, staff is always, it is great to have additional staff, but for this, what Mr. White mentioned, we are fine with what we have. If things were to get bigger, and it's not always, in this case, always a panacea, right? Because there's still management of things, right? And I think we'll be fine doing these.
Further commissioner questions, comments? Seeing none, public participation on this. Everybody's quiet tonight. Okay. All right. Then I'm going to call the vote on Resolution 2025-107. All in favor? Aye. All right. Get your projects going, Mr. Norsini. All right.
Thank you, Madam President.
Yeah, that concludes our business agenda. I'm going to move to any new business. Seeing none, old.
I have one item on new business.
New business.
So I'm sure everyone's seen on their streets the increase in use of e-bikes and e-scooters. And I had reached out to the township staff and Chief Flanagan, I think at the end of last year, maybe the beginning of 2025, and just asked if there was anything within the township ordinances that would address e-bikes, e-scooters, and the response back, and I think Solicitor Rice may have been involved in this, was that they're unregulated within the township, and which was a bit disappointing to hear, because three things caught my attention when I see these vehicles on the street. One is the rate of speed that they can now go. Two is the age of the user, which seems to be young. And then three, that they're not always following the rules of the road, or they're what I would consider properly equipped, wearing a helmet. The bikes have lights. And again, following stop signs and staying on the right side of the road. I received a call last week from a neighbor who said he had almost hit an e-scooter on Sugartown Road. It was dusk. There were not proper lights on the scooter, to my understanding, and the user had crossed the road and not looked both ways. Thankfully, there was no incident, but we've seen in other townships and communities local to us that there have been incidents, and I fear that there could be more with the rise of use and popularity with these vehicles. Coincidentally to that conversation, the chief had sent out an email that he's been involved in conversations within his network, and that there's draft proposals from nearby townships to address the use of e-bikes, e-scooters, who can use them, and under what circumstances. And I'd be interested to hear comments from my colleagues on their position on the use of e-bikes, e-scooters within Radnor Township. And is there interest to have Solicitor Rice draft a similar piece of legislation?
Well, we've talked about it, you and I. And you know that I support it, and I spoke with the chief. And I did a little research. So California has a scooter law, e-scooter law, where they can't go any faster than 50 miles per hour. They have lights, front and back, I believe, or they should have at least lights in the front and the back. And when I was getting ready for the meeting today, I just saw a kid zip by on his e-scooter, and I'm right at the corner, and he did not stop. And it's just a tragedy waiting to happen. So I commend you on bringing this up, and I support it. The chief and I have talked about it. I think State Senator Carney has a law, but I did speak to our state representative about how long that would take, and she said a long time to get that through. So rather than wait for the Commonwealth to do something, I think that we should.
Thank you again, Commissioner Abel. It's a great topic to bring up, and I think safety is the big concern, as everyone said. As a former pediatrician, I hear you. I mean, I think you need to come up with some safety, some age limits, and that sort of thing. So I would very much like to see something be crafted along this sort of Abby's Law lines.
I'd just add, I work for a university that's much larger campus than Villanova, and they do ban e-scooters, so you're allowed to use skateboards and things like that, but not electric. So I would be curious to see if Villanova has spoken to this on, their students using them within their campus, and see if they've put some restrictions on that. Obviously, if college students are using them on a campus, it would spill off as well. So just because it's a big issue at the university I work for, I am curious to see if they are seeing a problem or if students use them to zip across campus now with the opening of 2 new campuses. So it might be helpful to partner with them if we're trying to restrict how far and wide these go. The protecting the youth part wouldn't apply to the older college kids, but they may be, bringing them into the community at greater volume than, some, preteens.
Anyone else? Well, it sounds like we have at least 4 that would like you to craft something. You may do some public participation? Sure.
Yeah, I'd be a 5th. I
Oh,
agree
so
also.
let Commissioner
And
Riley
probably
go
other
first, if that's okay.
commissioners. Sorry, yeah, for the safety, and I've seen more and more people use them recently, and kids, and not even college kids, younger kids use them. And, yeah, without lights. I mean, I know some people use electric bikes and have headlights, backlight, helmets, and that's good. But these other ones look dangerous, and they're kind of zipping around everywhere. Thanks.
They're difficult to see as well. They're so low as compared to.
Baron Gemmer, South Wayne Avenue. Besides the roads, where I've noticed them a lot more is on the Radnor Trail. And they tend, unlike the bicyclists who go by fast, they tend not to give warning, and they're coming up very quickly and very silently. So in that case, it's the other parties who are typically in danger, the walkers, as opposed to the scooters themselves that might get hit on there. So if we could look to address that, because they just seem to be proliferating even there to keep everybody safe.
Yeah, I know a lot of the national parks have regulations on their e-bikes because they have trails and they have, certain models that are allowed, and then the big fast kind of nasty ones, if you will, are regulated.
Yeah.
So
even the small, essentially skateboards with just the handle, they're whipping by really fast on there. So thank you for that.
thank you. All right, sounds like we have some interest in getting an ordinance together about this.
Yeah, John, have you drafted similar legislation?
Not for this particular issue, yeah. I mean, I know there's several municipalities that have them on the books. I think Haverford just adopted something, which I have a copy of, but I'll do a little research on it. I mean, it's e-bikes and it's e-scooters, right? We're not talking about dirt bikes and other types of things, are we?
The e-bikes are a little bit different than the scooters. So I think something, is it on? Yeah. There it is.
Yeah.
It's blinking green. Yeah, so I would like to sort of understand the differentiation. I mean, an electric bicycle, you see a lot of delivery people using them for their livelihood and things like that. I think the scooters tend to be more for play.
Right. Well,
And Chief, I was just wondering if we could hear from you about what you're seeing out there also.
Thank you, Commissioner. When Commissioner Abel, I guess, asked just about a year ago, in general timeframe, I had the Highway Patrol Unit, which handles our traffic safety as well. We took a look at it, and just so the general public knows, the issue is that the state hasn't acknowledged. I mean, these are changing times with technology, just like computers and cell phones. So these bikes and scooters have changed dramatically, where right now they are not under any obligation to have certain reflectors or other things. So they're just considered a bike, even though they have a motor. And as we stated, some of these, they keep making them better, but we know that they can literally do 35 to 40 miles an hour on the smaller scale ones. So most of the legislation right now from Senator Kearney and Haverford Townships is driven at anybody under the age of 18 and includes incorporating multi-use on single scooters or bikes and helmets. So they're trying to take a stab at it that way. There has been a lot of talk about the Radnor Trail. We have and do receive complaints of electric
bikes, carts, and even those child-type toys due to its openness and affecting walkers and riders and dogs. So there's a couple different things. I think we'll work with Mr. Rice if Mr. White's okay with it. And we'll build out, in my opinion, first protecting the juveniles who have a vehicle that can travel on a sidewalk. And as we know, a sidewalk is not designed for motor vehicle traffic, but yet that vehicle can literally do 25 miles an hour on a sidewalk. And we know sometimes you trip just kind of going around. So we would build out juvenile and then the other. There are issues with motor scooters and food delivery services and other things, which we'll also take a scope at. But I would definitely focus on the juvenile and then build up from there, and also have a discussion about our township facilities and, where we think or designate an area where somebody could use them.
And Chief, just one point of clarification. I think you said 18 years old. It's 16 years old for the Haverford resolution, correct?
Right, meaning most of the laws that I've only read a couple, so I don't want to be an expert, but most of them are focused on people below the age of 18. So they're more trying to protect juveniles is their bigger goal, or at least their initial goal.
Is there, because I don't have much experience, is there much more with regard to e-skateboards? More? And e-skateboards on that campus, is that do they zip by
Oh,
as
no,
well?
they're not allowed motorized.
Because I have seen
Those are just
literally
regular skateboards.
a guy on a skateboard go up South Wayne Avenue at a good clip at night on a skateboard. And I was like, yo. So I don't know how fast they go, if that's something we want to consider as well.
Strong legs.
No, it was electric. So downhill did one thing, but uphill I was like, yo.
All right, thank you. Any further new business? Any old business? Any reports of board liaisons? Most of the boards are on break for the summer, so we'll look forward to that next month. Any final public participation? Seeing none, I am going to ask for a motion to adjourn. So moved and a second. Second by Commissioner Riley. All right, all in favor? Aye. We're adjourned.